Okay, so conversation time. Uh, I love caddisfly larvas, by the way. Side note: we're talking about nature. We're talking about the ice age, global warming, etc. So let's hear your opinions. I'm here to tell you that uh, the Earth's natural state is to not have any glaciers. Geologically speaking, if there are glaciers on the poles, that qualifies as an ice age. We're still technically in an ice age. Um, I guess my thing is uh, global warming is happening, period. We're not going to stop it. Um, can we mitigate and slow down? I don't know. I don't know. Possibly, probably, if we actually put our minds to it, and cooperated as a world, because it's only going to work if the world's doing it, not just if we're doing it. So I think that we need to plan for the inevitability of global sea rise. We need to plan for the lack of fresh water. We're already pumping out all of the non-replenishing aquifers that we have in the plains, and once all the glaciers melt, that's a source of fresh water that all those plants rely on, and therefore all of the wildlife that eats those plants and drinks that water rely on. And also, obviously humans, but most of the human population lives within a few miles of the coast. So we need to start doing some triage, and figuring out a way to move those people away from the current coast and towards the future coast, right? And and increase our desalination technology, make it cheaper, more efficient, whatever we need to do. And obviously, I'm in the Great Lakes area, so I'm cool. Like, I'm in a good spot. We're never going to be hurting for water up here, uh, unless all the rest of you guys show up. But the so all you people away from us, near the oceans, should probably start investing in desalination, because you're going to need that to water your crops, to feed the world. Do you think wheat prices are expensive now? Wait until water goes up times 100 in price. So so that's the first part that we were talking about. Then we moved on to planetary formation. um, well, first let me back up. I did make a statement that uh, the runoff from glaciers increases the carrying capacity of the land, artificially, kind of. I mean, for lack of a better term, I guess it's technically natural, but it's not natural through the water cycle. The rain alone cannot sustain that amount of life. It had to be supplemented by a glacial runoff. So wildlife's going to take a hit. Um, Plant life's going to take a hit. That's the nature of how evolution works. That's where the phrase survival of the fittest, which is not an evolutionary term, by the way, it's an economic term, but it gets thrown on us evolutionary biologists, and it works in places like this. Right? So we will thin out the weak that are unable to adapt. The more specialized ones, the generalists, will survive. Then they'll radiate out into new niches. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. We're talking about climate change. And now we're going to talk about what's called the Goldilocks zone, which is a term in astronomy, astrobiology, and geology, um, referring to the zone that is between Venus and Mars. Now, you think about the story of Goldilocks. She goes into the house. Now, originally, there were three balls of fire: Venus, Earth, Mars. And just like if you picture like if you had a big cauldron of molten steel or iron or whatever, um, when you took the heat off of it or lowered the heat, you would start to get a hardened skin on the outside as it cools down. Now, just like that, the planets are fighting the heat from the sun versus the cold from the emptiness of the void of space, which zaps energy like it's its job, because it's not really its job, but it's its purpose in life. Um, so we don't know for sure. Maybe I shouldn't even say that. I'm not a fucking astronomer. Maybe they have calculated whether Mars's core is completely dead or not. I don't know. If not, it's pretty damn close. The tectonics, the plate tectonics is non-existent anymore. It's hardened too much. The crust got too thick. So it just solidified. Then, that's obviously the dad's porridge. Then we go to Venus, to old mom's porridge. Venus also had the crust formed that hardened film, and then it just kind of hung out. So it hardened into a volcanic hellscape of poisonous gases in the atmosphere, constant volcanic eruptions, and excessive heat for human life, anyway. And then you have the porridge just right in the middle, which is the Goldilocks zone, aka the little kid's porridge, aka the Earth. The problem is that there is a very small window of what the exact Goldilocks zone is, and we do not know yet. We know that we're close to it. We don't know if we're in it. It's highly unlikely that we're actually in it, where it would achieve an equilibrium between the heat of the sun and the coolness of space. However, if we are, a few meters off and in one direction or the other, let's say we're on the colder end, eventually our crust is going to continue to increase in thickness to the point where volcanoes will no longer be able to break through to the surface. The tectonic plates and the continental drift will stop happening because the pieces will start to fuse together and just become one, which is going to have a whole butterfly effect down a climate and ocean currents and everything. I mean, it's the deep sea vents will be the last thing to go. But that's the most basal part of the food chain there. And living off the chemicals of the inner Earth. So all of that'll be gone. It'll just harden up. It'll stop moving the crust around. So it'll affect the winds. It'll affect the gravitational pull of the core on the atmosphere. Okay, so picture Mars. At one point in time, Mars did have an atmosphere because it did contain enough gravity and force magnetism to hold the gases nearby. But as it lost that electromagnetic attraction and the gravitational attraction, that it just started to slowly drift away from the planet until there was no more atmosphere. So that is one potential future for Earth. Um, the uh, the other one is that we're in the Goldilocks zone, exactly perfect, and it's gonna we're gonna continue to pulsate between an ice age and a non-ice age as the two forces fight against each other to try to achieve an equilibrium. Um, the However, as I'm thinking about it, there is also the size of the sun is increasing. Or, where the type of star we orbit is eventually going to be a red giant, um, and swallow up the Earth. So there's that. um, but consequently, you know, um, as we're orbiting and as the sun's increasing size, we're going to be getting closer. It's going to be getting warmer. So even if we did harden up, um, and stop the tectonics, as the sun grew, they'd come back. And not only that, Mars might have some life in its future as the sun expands. So maybe we do end up colonizing Mars in uh, 500 million years or whatever. Probably before then, but mass exodus to Mars around then. So anyway, just talking about climate change and how we need to determine, one is, should we be protecting the planet or should we be protecting human habitat? All right, and can you do both? um, because now it's like a moral question. Like, is all life more important or just human life more important? I am indifferent on it. I'm not gonna say I don't. I'm okay with either plan. I just want us to commit to a plan. So, if human life's most important, then we need to focus on probably trying to mitigate through science and technology the global warming. We want to artificially stay in the ice age because that is what we're used to right now. Like, even though we did exist in Africa prior to the ice ages, but now we want to live in the north, in the south. So, but if we can artificially induce an ice age, then we could artificially introduce a mild ice age, I believe. So that's a necessary thing if we want to keep it exactly as is. Really, we should probably just adapt, go with the desalination, start moving people away from the coast and farther north and south if you're in the southern hemisphere. I mean, honestly, it's, there's this thing called liberty and freedom. Informed consent is probably a more accurate term for this. But man, just let the people know what's up and give them an option. Go down to Equatorial Guinea or Suriname or whatever, and be like, hey, look, shit's gonna get fucked up. All right, so we got this golden ticket to the chocolate factory that says when shit gets fucked up, you can we're gonna move you north, and now instead of Suriname, you're gonna live up in Mexico. All right, well, I figure about I don't know, 15 degrees of latitude. We move everybody north and south away from the equator, like about that's in the tropics. They need to go north about about 15 degrees or so, 10 to 20 degrees. Let's just say that. So, any countries that are in the tropics should maybe start working on partnerships with countries 10 to 20 degrees north of them, and maybe preemptively work out a deal where they can, the people can start paying for the infrastructure that they're going to need for after their migration. Like, I don't. I mean, there's. Uh, this is part. This is why some days I just wish fucking aliens would beam down on the White House lawn. All right, because at that point, I think we would finally start to cooperate as a species, as a planet. Like, that would be the best thing to come of it. Like, whether they're good or bad or evil or whatever, them aliens aside, the best byproduct would be the cooperation of the human race, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, let me know. Stay free.